I, 29 male, work as a freelance architectural drafter. For the last 2 years of my life, I was dating girlfriend, 28 female. Looking back at it now, the relationship was a slow, suffocating progression of isolation. She worked in corporate marketing and was completely obsessed with optics, status, and control. Everything we did had to revolve around her schedule, her preferences, and her specific aesthetic. She systematically tried to dismantle my support network, but her primary targets were always best friend, 29 male, and best friend's sister, 27 female. Best friend and I have known each other since middle school. Best friend's sister and I actually dated very briefly back in high school. We broke up when I went out of state for college, but we remained incredibly close over the years. She is a wildlife rehabilitator. She wears muddy boots, drives a beat-up truck, and has absolutely zero interest in the pretentious social climbing that girlfriend lived for. Because of this, girlfriend despised her. She hated the easy way best friend's sister, and I talked. She hated my dog. She even hated the little Wi-Fi pet camera I kept on the living room shelf to check on the dog while I was working in my office. The breaking point happened on the morning of our annual neighborhood summer barbecue. It's a tradition we've kept alive for 10 years, and my entire friend group goes. I had been planning for it all week. I was also hiding a massive secret at the time. I had an engagement ring sitting in my sock drawer. I didn't buy the ring because I was overwhelmingly in love. I bought it because girlfriend had completely worn me down. She had snooped through my bank statements, saw my savings, and spent 3 solid months dropping aggressive hints, staging massive arguments out of nowhere, and basically making me feel like a total failure for not committing to her. I bought the ring a month prior just to buy peace. She found the receipt a week before the barbecue. She didn't say anything to me about it, but her entire demeanor shifted. She became incredibly smug and acted completely untouchable. She was convinced she had me locked down. That Saturday morning, I was in the kitchen packing the cooler. Girlfriend walked in wearing a silk robe, sipping her coffee and watching me with this cold, calculating look on her face. "I'm not going," she announced. I stopped packing the ice and looked at her. "What do you mean? We RSVP'd a month ago." "I have zero interest in standing in a humid backyard watching your unwashed friends drink cheap beer," she said, crossing her arms. "And honestly, I'm done pretending I can even tolerate them. Especially her." She didn't even have to say best friend's sister's name. I took a deep breath, trying to keep the peace. "It's one afternoon. They are my people." "They are losers," she snapped, stepping closer to me. Her voice dropped into that authoritative, marketing pitch tone she always used when she wanted to dominate a conversation. "I'm your future. You're going to be a married man soon. It's time to cut the dead weight. You need to make a choice today. It's your friends, or it's me. If you walk out that door to go to that trashy barbecue, do not bother coming back." She smiled slightly after she said it. She thought she was playing an absolute masterstroke. She knew I had the ring. She fully assumed I was going to drop to my knees, beg for her forgiveness, and propose right there in the kitchen to prove my unwavering loyalty to her. I just stared at her. The silence in the kitchen stretched for a full 30 seconds. In that quiet space, the fog I had been living in just lifted. I saw her clearly for the first time. The extreme entitlement, the blatant manipulation, the absolute cruelty of her ultimatum. I looked down at the cooler, then back up at her smug face. "Message received," I said. I walked straight into the bedroom, opened my sock drawer, and put the velvet ring box in my pocket. I grabbed my car keys, called for my dog, and walked out the front door without looking back. The drive to the barbecue was surreal. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, but not from sadness. It was pure, unadulterated relief. I felt like I had just dropped a 100-pound weight off my chest. When I pulled up to the house, the air smelled like charcoal and sunscreen. Music was playing loud. People were laughing. It was the exact opposite of the sterile, tense environment I had just escaped. Best friend was manning the grill. Best friend's sister was sitting on the tailgate of her truck, throwing a tennis ball for my dog the absolute second he jumped out of my car. I walked over to them. Best friend handed me a cold drink and took one look at my face. You look like you just saw a ghost and won the lottery at the exact same time. Where is she? She's at home, I said, opening the drink. We're done. She gave me an ultimatum. Her or you guys. Best friend let out a long whistle. Best friend's sister stopped throwing the ball. She hopped off the tailgate and walked over, her brow furrowed with concern. Are you okay? Seriously? I'm fine, I said. Actually, I'm better than fine. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the velvet box. Best friend's eyes went wide. I opened it right there. The diamond caught the afternoon sun. I bought this a month ago, I told them, just staring at the ring. I was letting her bully me into a life I didn't even want. I was going to give this to a woman who hates my dog, hates my friends, and hates everything that actually makes me happy. I looked up at best friend's sister. She was staring at me, her expression a mix of complete shock and something much deeper. We had danced around each other for years. 10 years of late-night phone calls. 10 years of her showing up with coffee when I had tight drafting deadlines. 10 years of me helping her build enclosures for injured hawks on the weekends. She had always been my rock. I was going to give this to the completely wrong person, I said, my voice dropping. The background noise of the barbecue seemed to completely fade away. I stepped closer to her. I don't want to waste another single day pretending I don't know exactly who I'm supposed to be with. Best friend slowly backed away, giving us space, a massive grin spreading across his face. I didn't get down on one knee. It wasn't some grand, traditional proposal. It was a confession. I held the box out to her. I know this is insane. I know I just walked out of a 2-year relationship 20 minutes ago. But you and I both know this has been coming since we were 18. Will you hold on to this for me? Just until we do this, right? Tears instantly welled up in her eyes.
She didn't hesitate.
She didn't ask for time to think about it. She closed the distance between us, wrapped her arms around my neck, and kissed me. It was the easiest, most natural thing in the entire world. A few people in the yard cheered. Someone popped a bottle. Best friend snapped a photo on his phone. 10 minutes later, my phone vibrated in my pocket. Then it vibrated again. And again. I pulled it out. Best friend had posted the photo of us kissing on his Instagram story with a caption, "About damn time." Girlfriend followed best friend on a fake burner account. She had seen it. I watched the screen as the missed calls counter ticked up. 12, 24, 45. By the time I turned the phone on silent and shoved it back in my pocket, it sat at exactly 63 missed calls. The storm was coming, but for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of the rain at all.
I
stayed at best friend's sister's place that entire weekend. I ignored my phone completely. On Monday morning, I drove back to my apartment to start packing my things. The lease was entirely in my name, but I figured I would just grab my work essentials and deal with the formal eviction process for girlfriend later in the week. When I unlocked the door, the smell of shattered electronics and spray paint hit me first. My apartment was destroyed. Girlfriend had gone absolutely nuclear over the weekend. My workspace, which housed my custom-built drafting servers, dual curved monitors, and specialized drawing tablets, was obliterated. She had literally taken a hammer to everything. Screens were shattered into pieces. Motherboards were snapped in half. Red spray paint was sprayed across the walls and my expensive drafting blueprints. My clothes were shredded and left soaking wet in the bathtub. She had caused roughly $18,000 in damages. She wasn't there, but a few hours later, a knock came at the door. It wasn't her. It was a sheriff's deputy. He handed me a thick stack of papers. It was a temporary restraining order. I read the documents in absolute disbelief. Girlfriend had gone to a judge first thing that Monday morning and filed an ex parte affidavit. Under oath, she claimed that I had come home from the barbecue on Saturday in a drunken rage, physically thrown her out of the apartment by her shoulders, threatened to end her life, and then destroyed my own property just to frame her. Because it was an ex parte hearing, meaning I wasn't there to defend myself, the judge granted the temporary order based solely on her fabricated claims and a photo of a massive, dark bruise on her arm. The deputy informed me I had 10 minutes to grab a bag and vacate my own apartment. I wasn't allowed to contact her. I wasn't allowed within 500 feet of my own home, and a formal court hearing was set for 14 days later. She was playing as dirty as humanly possible. She wanted me homeless, terrified, and begging on my knees. The entitlement didn't stop there. Over the next 2 weeks, she went on a warpath to systematically ruin my life and my reputation. She somehow found out the name of the main architectural firm I contracted for and emailed their HR and management teams. She attached the public record of a TRO and claimed I was a violent domestic abuser. She texted best friend from 4 different burner numbers, demanding he convince me to give her the engagement ring she firmly believed was rightfully hers, or she would make sure he never worked in our city again. She thought she was a master manipulator. She thought she had utilized the legal system perfectly to trap me. She thought she had all the leverage because she believed it was strictly her word against mine. But she forgot about the pet camera. Because I had taken my dog with me to the barbecue, the apartment was empty of pets all weekend. She probably assumed the camera was turned off. But that little Wi-Fi camera sitting on the top shelf of the living room bookcase was always plugged in, motion-activated, and backed up straight to a secure cloud server automatically. I bought a cheap laptop, sat at best friend's sister's kitchen table, and logged into my camera's cloud account. I watched the footage from Saturday evening. It was beautifully, flawlessly damning. It showed girlfriend entering the empty apartment completely alone. It showed her grabbing a hammer from my own toolbox. It recorded high-definition audio and video of her screaming as she smashed my expensive equipment to pieces. And best of all, the camera captured her standing by the front door, taking a heavy brass candlestick and intentionally, violently smashing it into her own shoulder to create the exact bruise she used for the police report. I didn't call her. I didn't text her. I hired the most ruthless civil litigation and criminal defense lawyer I could find, handed him the flash drive, and waited quietly for the 14th day. The morning of the hearing, the courtroom was tense. Girlfriend sat at the plaintiff's table looking like a perfect, fragile victim. She wore a modest dress, minimal makeup, and kept her head down. When she took the stand, she cried perfectly on cue. She detailed the fake abuse, swore under penalty of perjury that I had attacked her, and asked the judge to grant a permanent protective order and grant her exclusive occupancy of my apartment. The judge, a stern older woman who looked like she had seen it all, looked over at my lawyer. "Counsel, does your client have a defense?" My lawyer stood up, buttoned his suit jacket, and smiled. "Your Honor, we don't just have a defense. We have a complete exoneration. We request permission to submit Defendant's Exhibit A into evidence." He set up a laptop and turned the screen toward the judge's bench. He hit play. The audio of girlfriend screaming and smashing my monitors echoed loudly in the quiet courtroom. Girlfriend's face instantly drained of all color. She physically shrank down into the witness stand. The video played all the way through, right up to the very moment she violently struck her own shoulder with a candlestick. The silence in the courtroom, when the video ended, was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop. The judge slowly took off her glasses. She looked at girlfriend with a mixture of profound disgust and absolute fury. "Ma'am," the judge said, her voice dangerously quiet. "You have weaponized this court. You have committed perjury. You have filed a false police report, and you have committed felony malicious mischief." The judge slammed her gavel down hard. "The temporary order is dissolved immediately. Bailiff, detain the plaintiff." Girlfriend tried to speak. She tried to backpedal and cry, but the bailiff was already walking toward her with his handcuffs out. She was arrested right there in the middle of the courtroom. I sat quietly and watched as the entitled, smug woman who thought she could ruin my life was read her rights and escorted out the side door in cuffs. The consequences hit her like a freight train over the next few months. In our state, filing a false police report and committing perjury in family court are serious offenses. Combined with the felony property damage, which was well over the $1,500 felony threshold, she was facing real prison time. She eventually took a plea deal to avoid sitting in a cell, resulting in 3 years of strict probation, mandatory anger management classes, and a shiny new felony conviction permanently attached to her record. When her corporate marketing firm found out about the felony arrest, partly because my lawyer sent a very polite, very detailed legal cease and desist regarding her previous defamatory emails to my clients. She was fired immediately. They walked her out of the building. I didn't stop there. I took her straight to civil court. I sued her for the $18,000 in destroyed equipment, the cost of breaking my apartment lease, and every single cent of my legal fees. Because of the overwhelming evidence, I won a default judgment easily. Because she is now a convicted felon, she couldn't find another high-paying corporate job anywhere. She currently works stocking shelves at a massive retail chain. Thanks to the civil judgment, I legally garnish a percentage of every single minimum wage paycheck she earns to pay off her massive debt to me. Every time I get a direct deposit notification from her garnished wages, it brings a genuine smile to my face. I moved out of that city entirely. I bought a small house with some acreage with best friend's sister. We got officially married 6 months ago in our own backyard. Best friend was my best man. The dog was the ring bearer. I am finally living the exact life I was supposed to have, with the person I was always meant to be with. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, but sometimes you have to let them catch themselves on a hidden camera first. Hit that subscribe button and stick around, unless you want me to garnish your wages too.